Well, g'day everybody. I hope everyone had a wonderful, terrific Independence Day for our friends in the US. I hope you had a good celebration, some time with family and friends. Back to the market, of course, as we turn towards the next holiday, which we're all looking forward to, which is Financial Independence Day. In fact, we should probably do an event called exactly that. Now, interestingly enough, the market is certainly performing in a very concerning fashion or exciting fashion, depending on how you want to look at it. Obviously, the thing that we've been pointing out here in the trading rooms is that there's two most concerning factors. One, that the daily chart on the S&P 500 has a inverted fallen angel pattern, which is where you get an upward channel, which is bearish, that breaks out to the upside. You can see that happened. So it broke out of that upward channel. It peaked, it rolled over, and of course, what we're detailing here is that we very, very likely have. Let's just correct this a little bit. There we go. Let's make sure these levels are correct because those are important. There you go. So we're looking at this kind of head and shoulder pattern. It's a little bit skewed. There we go. Yeah, head and shoulder pattern on the S&P 500. Now, what that indicates is that we could see some bullish action in the short term, where we could basically rally up and kind of hit this 2760, 2758 kind of level, and then close down and then drop. And if that occurs, we're basically looking for the S&P 500 to fall, and we'd be looking for a decline down to around, as you can see, where this double bottom would then be created. Around basically, we'd be looking at a target of around, say, 2600, 2610 on the S&P 500. So you can see the inverted fallen angel plus the possible head and shoulders on the S&P 500. On the SPY, basically, that would relate to a similar level that would be looking at 260, yeah, 260 to 261. Okay, now the one thing that I mentioned was, maybe the saving grace for the S&P 500 that I thought could possibly hold it up was the high yield bonds. I mentioned that the high yield bonds had been fairly bullish recently, with it breaking out of its upward channel and downward channel and pushing, and the money flow had gone high. But you can see that what was previously its saving grace is now its bane of existence. Because what you can see here is the high yield bonds have sold off very sharply. And again, for you fallen angel students, you'll be able to see that almost fallen angel-like type of setup if we turn the chart upside down, with the high yield bonds now sitting on top of that channel, which if we turn it around the other way is dangerous. We'll be talking about this in the fallen angels lessons next week, about how we trade this and how we find these setups. But look, you can see that obviously high yield bonds just really wet the bed. Money flow has gone sharply down. So these are further concerns. Now there is a double bottom here that will probably create some level of support. But if momentum continues like that pattern suggests it is in a momentum formation currently, that could get broken. And if that gets broken, we're dealing with a serious problems in the market. So look, I've got lots of updates on the stocks we're currently following. There's been some fantastic movement in both the longs and shorts. For the sake of time, I'm going to include those as a written summary in the email that you'll have attached to this video. What I want to talk about tonight, or this morning for me, it's 9:18 here in Italy. I want to show you these couple of plays. One, ADSK. For this one, I would be looking, you can see there's a possible head and shoulders pattern. Okay, possible head and shoulders pattern there. So basically, I'm looking for this to rally up to hit around 136.34 to 137.57. If we get a head and shoulder in the market, this should create that little bit of a push to get it up into this area. If it gets to that area, I'd be looking at it as a possible short. Stop signal 143.53, and I'd be looking at a target of 112.37. Now you could consider 130 October puts, and it's also good insider selling. So you can see how that would possibly play out with that extension I've drawn on there. So there's ADSK, Autodesk. The second of three is BOFI. This I'd be looking at as it is at its retest level now. You can see the upward channel breakdown. So this is one we talked about in class a little while ago. The only potential threat is if it formed a downward channel. So you want to protect that with a fairly nice, was tight stop loss, because as soon as if it did break up out of that downward channel short term, obviously you want to cut it off quickly. So I mean, again, this is a possible technical setup here. The money flow supports it. I'd be looking at a possible short as at the current levels, and the tight stop potentially could be around, say, 43.13, just above the moving average and that channel area. The target one would be 38.13, and then of course, if the market did break down, it would be a momentum trade whip that could continue lower. Um, Last but not least, LVS. This is one where it's you got a long-term upward channel here potentially. You can see that we may be breaking down. Money flow certainly has broken down sharply, and it's right there at that test level. So I mean, it's going to have some threats. It's going to certainly have to clear $68. It's going to have to clear areas lower, but you can also see there's that again, that kind of that channel turned into momentum going on in the shorter term as well, which is something we've talked about a few times tonight. So basically, what we want to see is this. I want to see it actually break down further, break that gap support, so break below 69, let's say 69 and 87. And I'd then be looking for it to drop to at least 58.13. It could be a bumpy ride, but that'd be the longer term target. And I'd be looking at a stop signal of 74.23. Of course, with something like this as well, you could consider puts as well. So I mean, again, if you were looking, I'd be looking at the same kind of strategy. Basically looking at close to in the money, going out to say, September, even December. Let's say that you looked at December puts, which were around, say, $70. That's kind of the way I'd be looking at it. So 493, but of course that price may change. So I'd be looking at December, considering December $70 puts. So there you go, folks. That is it for today. I hope that you have a wonderful, getting back to the market day, and we'll be, of course, breaking these things down in more detail and trading them tonight, and looking forward to seeing you all there. We'll also be doing a special shorting course, depending on which way the market goes, so we can highlight some of these smart money plays. Okay, so there you go. Have a wonderful night and a wonderful day. We'll see you all soon. Take care.